Okay. Do it for the network. No, fuck it. Okay. Then update the YouTubes. Yeah. So the thing that keeps me sane during my work hours is I work from home. Literally, there's not shit going on. I just put on a YouTube video about something ridiculous. So my big thing in the past year and a half has been I'm a giant Marvel nerd. I love the MCU. I've just started getting into reading comics and seeing where the inspiration from the movies and the shows and stuff come from. So there are a ton of people our age or a little bit younger who just like never saw any of the Marvel MCU movies. So they do reaction videos of them watching them for the first time. Yeah, so it's a whole market. It's actually kind of absurd. Um and I just watch these people slowly become fans as they keep watching and become like emotionally invested. Oh no, that's the random black lady who's never saw Star Wars. Yeah. Yeah, so I guess her husband has seen Star Wars, giant Star Wars nerd, and she's never seen it. And so she decided to do kind of a TikTok reaction videos of her watching the original trilogy, and it's absolutely amazing because she is just so unhinged. She automatically gets the fact that R2D2 is the star of is the like the thing that holds Star Wars together. The anchor. Yeah. She hates Luke. She hates Han even more. But she, like I think her my favorite line she said was she has a bunch of great one liners. She goes, "The devil works hard, but R2D2 works harder." Yeah, he's the only one that actually has his shit together throughout all of the movies. Like he never screws up. Yeah, he's never got his memory wiped for anything. Oh shit.
The Death Star through everything that happened.
Midnight music. Midnight music.
All right, perfect. Sorry about that, Takan. Yeah, totally messed up. I was updating socials and checking into. Hi, Smiley. What is going on? Smiley's a good friend of ours. I'll give you a good recap of Smiley, who's at the top of the screen. Smiley used to live in Orlando area outside of NXT. She used to be like an NXT, like not a groupie, but she went to all the shows. and she knew a lot of inside stuff. So she became a fan of our show. And when me, Will, and our old host Dave went to New Orleans for WrestleMania 34, she like essentially found us on Bourbon Street, and we got hammered together.
I don't think I've ever been to Bourbon Street without being hammered.
It's true. It was a great time that I barely remember, and three of us made the mistake of doing this. Is back when WrestleMania had access and they did session times. Well, I mean, they brought back session times for WWE World. We made the mistake of being like, we can go out and get hammered on Bourbon Street and make an 8 a.m. WrestleMania access session the next morning. Bad move.
No. Yeah, they're not. Early mornings don't exist in New Orleans specifically in that part. No.
Yeah, no, it was oh my god, I love New Orleans. It's great. It's a great walking city, surprisingly enough.
It's my favorite city on the planet, not named Nashville.
Touché.
I went down there and did some staging when I was a young chef.
Oh yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, no, it is absolutely a bonkers time down in New Orleans, and I think WWE is returning there in the very near future, within the next decade. I would guarantee that, because it might be the perfect WrestleMania town.
It is and it isn't. And I've grown fond of the outdoor like stadium shows. I really like the stadium shows.
Stadium shows are fun.
Yeah.
Not this year's WrestleMania. I was cold as fuck. I got a pretty bad head cold after night one.
This year was a little bit different because of where it was. But I think if you look at it and you go to like those northern cities, like the one in New York, got a lot of flack for being super cold.
It was not that cold that day. Not at 35.
But that's the thing, is like the outdoor shows are cold, but I don't want to go back indoors now because it's going to be a smaller crowd. It's not going to be as big of a production. Like, it's almost like, at least for WrestleMania, I expect that big outdoor show.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure Louisiana, New Orleans specifically with the Superdome, and even now with the big one post Katrina, like, amazing venue, but I still don't think, having gone to the Rumble and seen it in Tampa with a sold out almost 60,000 people there, that's ultimately what the Superdome would be like.
Yeah, but just the Superdome is just a ridiculous feat of human architecture.
It's an amazing venue.
Yeah.
Amazing venue. But I like the outdoor stadiums. And I think that I don't think there's any harm in moving. If you look at where WrestleMania is at and going to be in the near future, keeping it in those warmer, more temperate climates for those regions and keep it in outdoor shows.
Yeah.
Vegas next year, I say in 2026, it'll either be in London or Saudi, one of those two. And then in 2027, it'll be in Nashville. And Nashville's doing
Once you guys get your damn stadium up, I realize you actually can't see me, and I'm going to fix that real quick so I can share my screen.
I had a Twitch pulled up already.
Oh, okay.
So I was kind of playing off the Twitch screen once I realized what was happening. I was like, I got this.
Yeah, my bad about that. I forgot. It's a whole process using OBS and whatnot.
But yeah, I like the outdoor shows, and I think the way they've done everything in the past, it would be okay keeping it that one WrestleMania, that big show in outdoor stadiums, which, yeah, would eliminate some of the venues and crowds. But New York has MSG, so they're going to get big shows anyway. Chicago, like Soldier Field doesn't host stadium shows. They always go to the other venues in Chicago. So
that is literally only on acoustics only. Because that crappy All-State Arena, which I did like 3 nights in when they did Survivor Series weekend in 2019, the NXT Invasion one, it is purely on acoustics. It is literally pure because that arena's ass. Like it is, it is so small. You can walk around the entire arena in like maybe 5 minutes, and it is so small. I actually found where like the creative meeting room was because there is no space at all.
That's kind of cool though that you could like meander into those places. Those are some of the best stories that you can end up
Yeah,
telling.
it was on the pedestrian level. Like that's where the meeting room was. I was like, I would walk in, but I feel like someone would kill me if I walked into a creative meeting. Be like, all right, guys, here's what we're gonna do tonight.
There's Paul Heyman always tells the story where he did that with Dusty, where he just walked into the production meeting, sat in the back of the room, and when Dusty waved him over, he was just like, "Hey man, they sent me here to learn from you." Didn't say who sent me here to learn from you. He just said they sent me here to learn.
Amazing.
And Dusty, for some reason, accepted it. And I think that's just how you got to do it sometimes. You got to be a little shisty.
Yeah. I mean, Paul Heyman is the king of shiesty. But before we get started, I do have breaking news from the world of sports, and well, sports, not entertainment, but sports. So apparently, Yahoo, USA Today, all the big media outlets have reported and confirmed that Major League Baseball, as of tomorrow, will fully integrate Negro League stats into their records.
So that's going to change
A
the home
shit
runs,
ton.
like the hits overall, like strikeouts. Like there's some major records that are about to change with
Oh,
this.
I'm gonna read it to you right now because I was on Twitter about to message you, and then someone was like, someone on my like For You page, I guess, 'cause that's what Twitter's doing these days. Was like breaking like Major League Negro League's going to be officially integrated into the MLB record book. Reports coming in like 5 minutes. Then the guy dropped the report from USA Today and Yahoo Sports. So according to Yahoo Sports article, Josh Gibson will become MLB single season record holder in batting average, slugging percentage, and OPS. So with a batting average of 466 in 1943, slugging percentage of .974 in 37, and OPS of 1.474 in 37 as well. The previous records for slugging and OPS were both held by Barry Bonds. Gibson's career batting average of 372 passes Ty Cobb for all-time lead, and that's fine because Ty Cobb can go rot in hell. While his career slugging percentage of 718, career and OPS of 1.177 take over the previous leader in both categories, Babe Ruth.
I mean, that's a win.
Yeah,
right?
that's a huge win.
I mean, it has to be looked at as a win for the integration for this league to come into Major League Baseball. One, for it to be 2024 and them to have still had both record books, segregated, literal term by definition of what they did.
Yeah.
To finally put them together is huge. Nashville is also doing something cool. Their petition to get their Major League Baseball team from that league specifically is the Nashville Stars.
Really?
They're going to bring that team back as what they're petitioning to call their Major League Baseball team when we inevitably get one here in the Music City.
That's fucking awesome.
They're going to be called the Music City Stars, taken from that team in the league when we had one then.
Oh, that's awesome. So I was reading up on this a little bit before the show, and essentially what they did is that, number one, Major League Baseball promoted the Negro Leagues to Major League status like 3 years ago. And so for the Sexy Red is on USA Network. Don't worry, I have it. I have it recorded. I'll be watching it tomorrow. So what they did, this committee like went through all of the box scores that they could find and just started logging stats and figuring it out for the last couple of years. The only stats they didn't integrate was when they were barnstorming. Essentially, they were being the Savannah Bananas before the Savannah Bananas.
There's a lot of teams starting to do that.
Hey, the Savannah Bananas were on Raw. I still want to go see them play just for shits and gigs.
100%.
I was like, wow.
I'll go see. The next time they come to play the Sounds, I'll go see them. I'll put my name in the lottery at least to try.
Yeah, they're a hot commodity. But yeah, that's the big news. I was like, holy crap, they're integrating all of Negro League Baseball stats. And they said they're still going. Like, they still may, because Negro Leagues were really bad at keeping stats together because they were so disjointed for a very, very long time. I actually read a book on the history of it like a month or so ago. because it's a wild. There's a couple of wild back and forths with Negro Leagues and Major League Baseball and like the stealing of players and all of this shit. But record keeping wasn't really a high on their priority, to be completely honest with you.
This might be a bastardized way to describe it, but in a lot of ways, it would be likened to like the wrestling territories, right? There really wasn't a Major League Baseball per se governing all of it.
Yeah.
It was almost like little territories based on what region of the states you were in, right?
Pretty much.
That's kind of my understanding of it. And again, it's not, set in stone, but that was kind of the way I understood it because they didn't have that governing Major League Baseball style body overseeing all of them.
Yeah. They did.
Or overseeing the teams. There wasn't a commissioner per se.
No, there wasn't. There were multiple leagues that they either created or they formed or then they merged together. So it was very wild westish. But the fact that they are doing it, and it's right before we're doing the MLB Negro League game, I think in Alabama, at like the last standing Negro League ballpark. It's in Birmingham, I believe.
That's cool.
Yeah,
that's got to be some kind of historic landmark now.
I think
too.
that's the only reason it's not taken down. They made it an historic landmark, so they can't tear it down.
Something else crazy from sports. There's a Division III team from Alabama. Now that you bring it up, I saw this yesterday on ESPN. The university announced at the beginning of the spring semester that they were closing down on May 30th or May 31st.
Oh, shit.
And after that, the university is going to be completely shut down. Well, their baseball team has made the College World Series.
So they have to stay open,
now
right?
No, the school is completely shut down now. All the players have committed to other schools with NCAA like sanctions so they can go and immediately play since their school closed.
Yeah.
But they're still getting to play ball under the default university name because they qualified for the College World Series. And I was like, that's low-key kind of awesome.
Yeah, also, like, if they win the whole damn thing, number one, if my school closed while I'm still playing the College World Series, I'm never returning that jersey. Number two...
No, dude, they're not getting any of the equipment
Number
back.
two, if they win the whole damn thing, who gets the trophy?
The coach. I would assume the coach would walk off the bus with that motherfucker and just take it straight into his house. He's like, this is mine now. And walks off with it.
Seriously, like, oh my god, it must be a clearance sale at that fucking university at this point.
It was wild when I saw that. I was like, holy shit. Okay, so they qualified, and now they're at least one series is guaranteed to be played without a university backing them. So it's just like
wild.
A bunch of players and the coaches going out there and playing ball now with a team on their jersey. But that would be like if MTSU closed down and the Blue Raiders still took the field.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that would be how that. I was like, that's wild to me.
Yeah.
Like who's funding it? Where are they getting the money to go to compete? Is it coming from the NCAA?
Yeah,
I guess?
if they do, because I don't know, because I know you have super regionals and the college baseball thing is ridiculous. The system. But like if they go to like I guess a super regional or like a national tournament, which I think everything's like Omaha, Nebraska or whatever, like who's paying that travel fee? Like who's covering them?
Transportation alone for even a Division III team, you're looking at probably including players and coaches at least 30 people.
Yeah, and then you gotta house them.
Yeah, and food and board because it's a university, so they can't like NCAA rules. You can't pay the players, so you have to provide all of that.
Oh, that changed. Well, at least in D1, they're changing that. Well, because the government forced them to. Actually, put it that way.
I don't disagree with it. I think they should have allowed the players to be making money way sooner than they were.
There's a great ESPN documentary that they did in 2019 at the 150th anniversary of college football, where they literally showed like black and white video footage of the NCAA trying to figure out that same problem. Like at its inception, like we should pay these guys, right? Like there's literal footage of them being like, yeah, I think we should kind of pay them. And they just never did for hundreds of years.
It's nuts because you look at somebody like UT. I'm a huge Volunteers fan.
Unfortunately.
I know nobody's perfect, Ricky. That's why you love me.
It's okay. I'm me and you like the third weekend in September. We never get along because I'm a Gator.
Oh, I know. It's unreal the amount of friendships I lose during the football season in the fall.
You only lose me
But
for
you look
one
at,
weekend. That's fine.
that's what Bo says too. He's like the flood, the UT Georgia game. We just don't speak that day until the game is over. And I was like, fair, I can accept that. But you look at UT, historically a one of those like they call them blue blood powerhouses. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because historically through UT and Alabama and some of those SEC schools, just like your Ohio States and your Michigans, UT historically hasn't been good though since the early 2000s. They still
Fair.
have one of the highest revenue streams in college football. They got over 100,000 person stadium, all the landmark and state of the art like training facilities and locker rooms and
Didn't they
everything. They
just
go
update
into it.
Neyland Stadium too? Didn't they like update their concourse recently?
They did.
Yeah.
They added a bunch of they just changed their whole thing was like eating local. So they just updated it with a bunch of like local shops. So they'll be able to do pop-ups in the stadium with like local
That's
restaurants for
dope.
game day and stuff. It's going to be cool as shit. I love Neyland. I've always said that WWE needs to do a collegiate showcase where they go to like Neyland and they go to the big house in Michigan and the, OSU stadium in Ohio and go to some of these big college stadiums and show out because come on, like
Oh no,
you put
yeah.
104,000 people in Michigan's big house and you just let them go
And that's just
crazy.
in the stands.
Yeah, that's not counting the standing room and the
Pe-
floor that they'll be able to put,
yeah.
space for. It's
My
nuts.
one gripe with it before we get going, my not my gripe, but I know the reason why I think they won't do it. It's because of the design of those college stadiums. There are benches instead of actual seats, and I think that's what trips them up.
It's going to be harder
It's
to
going to be hard to account.
but I mean, come on, that's the literal definition of putting an ass every 12 inches.
Yeah, I know it
Like you
is.
don't get more real than that, like. And some of the big schools have upgraded anyways. Even MTSU has actual seats in some most of their bottom bowl
Yeah.
now.
No, but like if they did the big house, they would literally have the world attendance record. It would be absurd.
It would be nuts, and I would support it no matter what Division One football school they went to.
Yeah.
Like any of them that could break the record, I'd be like, yes, go do it now.
Yeah, no, the big house, or even then, I'm surprised they've never done it. Uh because like it's picturesque, it's perfect, and it's probably a lot of shitty old people politics. The Rose Bowl and WrestleMania are tailor made for each other. The mountains in the background, the sun going down in the evening, it screams spectacle.
That's a good point. They've never done it in Pasadena.
Pasadena and WrestleMania is like a match made in heaven.
That stadium is so historic.
Yeah.
Everything that's happened, the teams have gone in there and won. Like everything that goes into it being the Rose Bowl surprises me. They've never done a big show there.
It's the
Not maybe
other
not
shit
even
around it.
WrestleMania.
Yeah, it's because
Yeah.
WrestleMania it's because you have to be it's like Pasadena is not really by anything I think major where you can hold like the WWE World or Access or whatever. I think that's the issue with Pasadena. Like the stadium in and of itself, they would kill. They would kill like from a
But where are you going to
cinematography.
put
Yeah.
those 100,000 people when the game's not being held?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah, Pasadena would be a beautiful WrestleMania backdrop. But who knows? Anywho, let's get this show on the road. We're gonna have Will and I are gonna have some fun. The Will Chamberlain controversy to Quan, very funny. Oh man, but yeah, no, we're gonna talk about some really interesting stuff. It's gonna be a lot of dead air for a little bit because I'm gonna do all of my music in post like a real cinematographer. Because Will's not here to do stuff for me. Will has a soundboard and he usually does all by himself, so this is going to just be very raw, and I'll do it in post and whatnot. So you ready to go, sir?
Yeah, I'm good to go.
All right, let's do this. Doing a little countdown, starting in 5, 4, 3, 2, and. Coming up this week on Kings of the Rings podcast, if you like flamethrowers, people getting hung by their feet, vehicular manslaughter, and people getting crowned king and queen in a place where it's kind of reality and a lot of political propaganda, this might be the show for you to tune into. King Ricky's here. I've got a will, but not the will that you think. It is a grayer will coming from Botched in Chair Shots podcast. We are going to break down the anarchy, the chaos, the crownings that were this past weekend in the world of professional wrestling. Summer's here, and it got really hot. So hot, but a babyface tried to set somebody else on fire. All of that and more on episode 377 of Kings of the Rings podcast, exclusively here on Wrestle Addict Radio, and it starts right now. You know, it's really funny. I thought the messiest thing in the world of pro wrestling was when a babyface was about to set somebody else up on fire. And then the ending of Raw happened, and it became really messy in the world of pro wrestling. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Kings of the Rings podcast, episode number 377. I am your host, King Ricky Rose. Thank you guys for joining us, especially if you're watching us live right now on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. If you like what you're seeing, or if you end up liking what you're listening to, because I know you do, because listen to my voice, listen to this, okay? Make sure you like, share, subscribe, leave us 5-star reviews, buy some of our fantastic merch. The links to all of that are in the description below. With me this week, no K. K's still looking for you. No Mr. Tarashok. Mr. Tarashok is out in Austin, Texas. Yes, the Austin, Texas. Looking for a bleach blonde, bad built, butch body that he cannot find. Trust me on that. But I do have a little bit of a better consolation. He is a chef by trade, a mark by choice. He is the host of the Botched and Chair Shots Wrestling podcast, a part of Ribbit City Radio. I said Chef Boy Trade. I actually like Chef Boy Trade. I like that actually a lot. That was totally a typo. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Will Gray. Will, how are you, sir?
I'm glad to be here, Ricky. You and I have seen a lot of each other this week.
We have.
From Thursday for trivia, Sunday for Botch Bots. I'm here with you tonight. Like, we're making this a regular routine, and I'm loving it.
Yeah, no, it is good. It's good. I love a little integration. It's summer of fun right now. So yeah, no, we have a lot of interesting wrestling to talk about. It's going to be a lot of freestyle in here right now, and that's just the way I like it. So let's get into some of the big news coming out of the world of pro wrestling. Just this weekend. The biggest thing that happened in the world of WWE is that Triple H, again, with pretty much seems like they're creating a template for these big announcements for all of these major shows. Like, you can look at the WrestleMania announcement and this announcement of SummerSlam, and they're literally the exact same thing with completely different background music. But Triple H announced that Minnesota 2026 US Bank Stadium, the home of the Vikings, is getting SummerSlam for 2 nights. The first ever 2-night SummerSlam, August 1st and August 2nd, US Bank Stadium in Minneapolis. There have been a lot of thoughts about this event in general. This is essentially on WrestleMania's calendar, known as SummerSlam number 2. SummerSlam is known as WrestleMania number 2, the WrestleMania of the summer, the WrestleMania with better weather, and yet they're putting it in an enclosed stadium in Minnesota. But like, I get it, it's Minnesota, anything can happen. But it's 2 nights for the first time ever, and they're announcing it pretty much 2 years in advance for this. So we obviously know that Vegas is getting Mania next year, and the reports for that is between Vegas and Minnesota for Mania. So Vegas got Mania next year, and it was presumed that it is potentially Minnesota for the year after that, but now that doesn't seem to be the case. Minnesota is getting something WrestleMania adjacent, with SummerSlam and it being 2 nights, so it's theoretically going to be on the same par as WrestleMania that year. But is it necessary, Will Gray?
I don't I don't know if it's necessary, but I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And here's why.
Mm.
If I were a betting man, Ricky, and we talked about this on Botchbots. No, it wasn't on Botchbots. I made a TikTok video about it.
Mm.
Sorry. It was about the pay-per-views. And what I said was, if you look historically over the last 24 months, Backlash in Puerto Rico, EC in Australia, Backlash in France, we've got Money in the Bank in Canada.
Yeah.
Last year we had Money in the Bank in England. You get where I'm going, where it seems like a lot of these non-big four pay-per-views are going to the international audience, right?
Yeah.
So, and then we get 2 Saudi shows a year, the India Super Show, like all of these big, they're going to Japan. Like, you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So in my brain, I go, okay, what happens if they take those 6 to 7, I'll call them the B tier pay-per-views, anything that isn't the big 4, okay?
Okay, yeah.
Those, call it 8 events a year, are all done overseas, okay?
Mm-hmm.
What the States get are the big 4, all 2 nights. So the States get 8 big shows. Overseas gets 8 big shows.
Interesting. So you're telling me that you think there's a potential that we're going to get a 2-night Rumble, a 2-night Survivor Series, a 2-night Mania, which we already have, and a 2-night SummerSlam, probably by 2030.
I would say by 2030, if I were a betting man, the big 4 will be the only domestic shows in the States. They will all be 2 nights. And then the rest of the B-list pay-per-views will be in Canada and France and, scattered throughout. They've got working relationships in Japan now.
Mm-hmm.
They're doing super shows there. They've got super shows planned in South America, like Brazil and Mexico and shit. Like,
still won't touch Africa. I don't know why yet.
The Ugandan the soft ground wrestling of Uganda has a really strong foothold on that territory.
That's true. Mansoor's bankrolling them, so
I mean, they've got some money now. I don't think WWE's they're not gonna go to the territory.
It's gonna be hard to compete. It's gonna be hard to compete.
They've got that home city pop. You can't go over there and compete with them. But, mosquitoes, God damn it, Ty. But yeah, I could see that being the case. And WWE, when you look at it, you're like, but would they do it? And then you look at the schedule now, they're already more than halfway there without saying anything about it.
Yeah.
Look at because we've still got Bash in Berlin.
That's true.
This year as well. We've got the India show later in the year. We've got one more Saudi show. We've still got Money in the Bank in Canada. Mm-hmm. And that doesn't count. So we're going to have Fastlane and then the rest of the big 4 closing out the year. So SummerSlam, Survivor Series, and then a couple so we're already more than halfway to what I said. And when you think about it, it would be a good even split. 8 shows domestically, 8 big shows internationally, and then your house super shows and network specials. It's a good even blend. They would have 20 big shows a year on top of their 53 weeks of TV, and that's a special every 6 weeks or a pay-per-view every 6 weeks.
That's absurd. I never thought of it that way. I mean, that logically makes sense. My only gripe with it is that I enjoyed WrestleMania being 2 nights. I think WrestleMania deserved to be 2 nights, and that being the outlier I thought was perfect. Like, this is the show of shows, so the show of shows needs to stand on its own. And so I kind of have some gripes initially with SummerSlam moving to 2 nights, because I feel like, does that take away from the spectacle that is WrestleMania? And I had a conversation back and forth on Discord with my actual host, Will, with the logistics of, is this a downgrade from Minnesota? And that's when my thought process started to change. I was like, it's not a downgrade. You think of SummerSlam. SummerSlam is WrestleMania in the summer in disguise. So you're going to get a WrestleMania level show with a WrestleMania level production with better weather, and even if it's not good weather, it's in a freaking domed arena. Okay, from a financial and purely capitalistic standpoint, This is a massive economic win for the city of Minneapolis and the state of Minnesota. They're going to do WrestleMania numbers because, based on just science alone, people move and are more active and travel more during the summertime, location notwithstanding. You're going to get people. You might not get maybe the international crowd. I would beg to say you're going to get the international crowd because it's a major event. It's a big four. We're going to do crazy travel packages for it. And yes, it's also in the summer. People are more likely to travel and go places in better weather, and we have the best weather right now. That's the herbs tilting in our direction, you know. So it's going to do wonders. I have a concern. It was like, if every big four is 2 nights, what makes each one stand out from the other one? WrestleMania had that pedestal against everybody because it was the only 2-night one. With SummerSlam moving towards this, you got to get a lot more creative with making these shows all seem different.
They have to have their own identity. You're
Yes.
not wrong. And when you said it's a spectacle unto itself, I don't think you're anywhere close to wrong with that statement. WrestleMania only stood on its own, though, for 2 years. No? Because WrestleMania, then the first Survivor Series was 86?
Something like that.
86 or 87. So maybe 2 years. We'll say a modest 2 years on its own before Survivor Series.
Mm-hmm.
So now you use that logic and you think, okay, 2020, 1, 2, 3. This was the 5th WrestleMania that's 2 nights. I think now would be the perfect time to move one of the other big four to 2 nights.
Mm-hmm.
Because WrestleMania was the biggest thing they had for 2 years, and then they added to it. Now you think 40 years later, WrestleMania is the biggest thing they have. Now SummerSlam gets 2 nights. Next year they announce Rumble as 2 nights, and we get the men's Rumble 1 night and the women's Rumble 1 night.
Yeah.
And then by 2030, all 4 of the big four are now 2 nights. And it's like, it makes sense because they could make so much money internationally by moving those B-list pay-per-views overseas, because France doesn't care that they got backlash. They showed up, they blew the lid off the place. Backlash in Puerto Rico, I still think, was louder than France.
It was.
There's a lot of arguments
was.
for that.
It absolutely was louder in France.
I just think that's the case. And then you look at EC, even Australia, like blew the lid off of that for Elimination Chamber.
Mm-hmm.
Like, nobody's favorite pay-per-view is Elimination Chamber, and Australia still treated it like a WrestleMania.
Because it is their WrestleMania.
International bingo, and that's the way they get treated. France treated it that way. England will treat it that way.
Yep.
Berlin will treat it that way. Tokyo won't give a fuck because they get the G1 and Wrestle Kingdom and, Otaku and all of the stuff they've got going on over there. They're going to be like, oh, cool.
Whatever.
We get to see Seth Rollins wrestle. Like, big deal. Like, but you see my point.
Yeah.
Like, the rest of the world will make these feel like WrestleManias, and then we get, like, the 4 big ones here for us.
Yeah. So AJ Huber, hey AJ Huber, thanks for joining. First Survivor Series was in 87.
Perfect. So 2 full years then.
Yeah. 2 full years or so. And it makes sense. I think SummerSlam might be the best one to start with because SummerSlam has the least identity of any of the other big fours. Like,
it was the last of the big four.
Yeah, and it has, and it's the biggest. Like, their whole shtick is the biggest part of something. But WrestleMania kind of speaks for itself. It's the granddaddy of them all. It's the Rose Bowl of wrestling. Royal Rumble has the ultimate gimmick match in and of itself. Survivor Series, since it's pretty much War Games, like almost every year. There it stands on its own and it works out. But SummerSlam needs to find its own identity because it literally just is a warmer WrestleMania. And I don't think that's gonna be enough in the grand scheme of things. Something has to be big. I think moving King of the Ring to pretty much be kind of the bridge, to SummerSlam makes sense. But SummerSlam has to kind of find its identity so that it can, when it does get to this major status, I mean, it's already major, but when it does get that status, it really has to stand on its own. My other concern with moving everything to 2 nights is the Rumble, in particular the Rumble. Because be it as it may, since its inception, the women's rumble has shit on the men's rumble more often than not. Since its
The
since
past
inception,
2 years, 100% the past 2 years. The year Oscar won, arguably
that was the
over
first one.
Shinsuke's win.
That was the first
Yeah,
one.
that
Yeah,
one felt bigger than Shin's
it
win.
was.
The year Bianca won over, she won over, was it Drew? No, that was Rhea.
Rhea
Um,
beat Bianca. I forgot which one Bianca. No, did Bianca beat Rhea in the? It was Bianca beat Rhea, I believe. Yes,
yeah,
Bianca beat
and then
Rhea to go. It was in the Thunderdome.
correct. But you see my point. Like since its inception, there have been multiple times where the women's rumble has killed it. So I
Yeah.
think maybe moving them to 2 nights would give each rumble a chance to shine.
And I think it
Bianca
would.
and Edge were the same year, so that was 2021.
Yeah. I'm concerned about that because you have to make sure because I mean I think the women put on better stories and at a lot of the times some better matches when they're given time and stuff. But I'm concerned if the women highlight a night of a rumble, is it going to be I would be interested to see the sales. If you're doing like a
Mhm.
women's specific main event and that's, announced. The same thing if it did a women's war games. Is that night going to sell as well as something highlighted by men? Because unfortunately, we're still in a very male dominated industry from the fans to backstage. And I would be interested to see the numbers if they do move towards that. I think it's possible they can do well because these names, the SummerSlams, your Rumbles, your Manias, it's Survivor Series, it's pretty much it's a brand in and of itself, and people will come just for the name. But I'm interested to see if it's going to be sellouts both nights for those stuff, especially if you highlight the women outside of the men. I hope it will be. I think giving them 2 years, it should be able to get that way, but there's got to be a lot of investment in women and women's storylines leading up to this.
I've spoken on this a lot, and it sucks that we have to say it the way we do, but like the women don't get the time on TV, so they don't feel as big on a marketing perspective, so they don't draw as well.
Yeah.
And it all trickles back to the way the company handles that time. I say it a lot that WWE specifically is no longer just a wrestling show. It's a television show, like a dramatic television show about pro wrestlers now.
Yeah.
Okay. And I feel like at the core of it, they've got the 5 hours of TV, 7 if you include NXT, for a 200-person roster. There's just not enough time for them to develop the stories because for every Becky Lynch, Bianca Belair, and Jade Cargill, you've got a Seth Rollins and a Cody Rhodes and a Roman Reigns and a Solo Sikoa, and you see my point.
Yeah.
Like there's 5-to-1 male to female ratio, so it's already tough to get the TV time in wrestling. It's even tougher to get TV time for women in wrestling, and then you start adding on all the other like the difficulties. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like +5 difficulty because of this, and there's just not enough hours to get it over. And I think that's at fault of the company at this point because they've got women. They're talking about making Becky Lynch the highest paid women's wrestler of all time. And if Mercedes is clearing $10 million a year, and that's including her transportation and all the stuff that goes into it,
Yeah.
Becky's going to have to clear that. What does that mean for Seth or Drew or, all of these guys when they go to re-sign then? Because I wrote about it for Last Word. When Okada came over talking about making 400 yen and that equated to $12 million a year or whatever it was, I said that would be like a quarterback in the NFL signing an unprecedented, unheard of deal.
Yeah.
And then everybody coming into the free agent market going, I'm about to make so much fucking money.
Exactly.
Because now they've skewed the market. If Sasha's the biggest star in the world and she's making $10 million a year, I know you love her. I'm not taking away from it.
Mm-hmm.
But that means every other star that feels like they're an equal or bigger draw than Sasha will now expect Sasha money.
Yeah, she created the floor. She's the floor.
Exactly. So now I feel like the question's going to be how many of these huge, we talked about the 7-figure wrestler being the it factor. You get paid $1 million a year to fucking wrestle. That's huge.
Yeah.
Now you're looking at people who are getting 8-figure contracts in wrestling, and you're like, holy shit.
Yeah.
20 years ago, there weren't $1 million wrestlers.
No.
Like you could count on one hand how many $1 million wrestlers there are. Now they have people, we're talking about people making 7 and 8 figures a year,
Yeah.
not the full length of your contract. It's nuts, the market shift for the sport.
Yeah, the market.
Sorry, that was a little long-winded,
No,
but I just wrote about it, so it was fresh on my mind.
nah, dude, that is perfect. No, it's the market is crazy. They're also I mean, and I'm not gonna blame any wrestler for asking for their money because the numbers speak for themselves. WWE outside of TKO, WWE by itself, 9 billion, AEW 2.3, 3 billion. Yeah, I'm gonna ask for some money. Like, you're gonna pay me. You know, you're I know what your bottom line is. I know what the reports are. Like, you're gonna pay me. And like as much as I can get. You know, so I get that. But yeah, no, WWE moving to 2 nights, this could be a sign of things to come. I'm all for it. It makes everything big. It makes all of my vacation trips that much more special. I've always wanted to go to Minnesota and Minneapolis. This gives me a great excuse to stay for at least an extra day.
If you go, oh my God, there's a place it's called Fire Lake. It's in Mall of America at the Mall of America Blue.
That is the one thing I need to add. That's the one thing I need WWE or NXT to do. We need to do a show in Mall of Americas just for old time's sake.
When I was working for a company called HEI, no free shout outs. They were a hotel like portfolio. They had like 93 properties. I did task force. So they would pack me up and move me from hotel to hotel.
Yeah.
And I spent 2 weeks in Minneapolis at the Mall of America Blue helping open or reopen Fire Lake after their renovation. And we put a big like live fire hearth where they had the big rollers to move the meat up and down.
Nice.
Oh my God. It's so fucking cool, dude. Like dry aged meat. And I helped start all of this. So if you go to Minneapolis and they're still open, check out Fire Lake, dude. Loved that restaurant. One of my coolest projects.
I will definitely check it out. I have some people who are strongly connected to the state of Minnesota. Potentially a former NFL player. But anywho, moving on. Moving on to some AEW news and some interesting AEW news, but AJ Huber actually dropped to us on the chat. But Salmon Suit be damned. Mark Henry will no longer be saying, and now time for the main event on, what is it, Collision? Or what's the one on Friday?
Rampage.
He will no longer say now it's time for the main event on Rampage. Mark Henry has announced on Busted Open Radio that he will be leaving AEW. And this just in, according to AJ Hoover, thank you, by the way, Arn Anderson also announced that he is leaving AEW as well. So my question to you, Mr. Wilbur Gray, is this a sign of them going back to WWE? Or are they taking a break? I think more so, in my opinion, I think Mark's going back to WWE. I don't know about Arn. I think and Jake Hager. Jesus Christ.
Oh, Jesus.
Jesus Christmas. Okay, there's an exodus going on right now. So Mark Henry, Arn Anderson, Jake Hager all announced they were leaving AEW in the presumable future or not renewing their contracts or what have you. So give me your predictions, Will Gray. Where are they all going?
First and foremost, I want to say thank you to AJ. He's the EVP over at Rivet City Radio. He's a big supporter of the shows. I'm not sure how much he sticks around here, if he followed me or not. Great dude. Love AJ Hoover. Big shout out there.
Yeah.
I think that Arn is retiring.
As he should.
I think he's seen the sunset. He's riding off into the distance. Like, let him do his thing. He might sign a Legends deal, but who cares? He owns the rights to the Four Horsemen. So anytime somebody uses that, like, they have to pay Arn Anderson now, not WWE or WCW or NWA. So let him just go off and retire. 1,000%. Jake Hager is one of those unfortunate, like, good luck in your future endeavors, my guy. Like, I don't know, like, what to say about that. Like, Jake Hager might go back to WWE, but I'm not real sure. He wasn't a Triple H guy. He was a Vince guy who didn't make the cut. So I'm not sure where he would land there.
He can't do his old character because it screams xenophobia.
Yeah, like there's a lot of things wrong with that. What him and Dutch were doing back in the day.
Yeah.
Like, if you go back and Google Dutch Mantel and Jake Hager, and you'll see some shit.
Yeah, I was like, oh boy. I looked at like just thinking about that gimmick now in like modern times, like, oh my god, like it's just really bad.
So I think for the most part, so it was Arn, it was Jake, and who was the third one? I'm sorry.
Mark.
Oh yeah, Mark Henry.
Yeah.
He 100%. I could see him just signing a Legends deal and just going off into the WWE sunset and being used whenever they want to use him, because like he wants to have that one last match and he couldn't get it in AEW, so maybe he goes off and gets booked somewhere and does a, the world's strongest man's final match or some shit.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, but like, I say essentially him and Arn will both end up on Legends deals and riding off into the WWE sunset to be used whenever they need that retro nostalgic pop.
Yeah. Mark Henry's Hall of Pain run is one of the greatest championship runs ever. It is ridiculous what he was able to do with that character when they pretty much just let him loose. I can never see Mark Henry coming back. I mean, Mark Henry's the reason we got Bianca Belair. Like, he's the one that discovered her, because Mark Henry apparently just loves social media, and that's how he found Bianca. He found her on an Instagram video or something, and he was like, "Hey, you want to work for WWE?" that's pretty much what it was.
That's one of those like fake ass text messages where you get a call from a Stanford number and they say they're from WWE, and you're like, "No, man, fuck you."
Yeah.
Like, no, you're not.
Yeah.
Like, which, like you hang up on them and then they immediately call you back because they know that you don't believe them. Like, I feel like that's probably how that went.
Yeah.
Bianca was like, "The fuck do you mean you're Mark Henry? And do I want to come?" What? Like,
who are you? Yeah. No, I think the story was he saw a video of her and she was a bodybuilder and she was in like a weightlifting competition. That's when he saw the video and he was like, oh, hold on a second, and like DM'd her on Instagram. I think he also might have outside of Cody. I think he also had a Jade Cargill influence as well.
I think anybody who looked at Jade in any position and were like, "Oh shit, she's not made for the ring," would be absolutely batshit crazy.
Yeah.
Like, even going back to when she very, very first got the AEW and was, I'll say, at her smallest in stature, both weight and muscle mass and ability.
Yeah.
She still towered above the other women in that women's division. And over the last 3 years, she's gotten so good so fast.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I would rival it with like borderline a Logan Paul, because when she left AEW, people were concerned about how well she would hang in WWE. And she went from being like, "Oh, I wonder if she can hang," to going like, "I can't wait for the turn to happen because the banger we're going to get when we see her and Bianca at WrestleMania next year." Like, that's where we're at in such a short amount of time. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, no, WWE did the right thing. Like, looking back at it, WWE did the right thing of just dangling the carrot of Jade Cargill for months. When's it going to happen? When's it going to happen? When's it going to happen? It was a
where is she going?
Where is she going? When? It was a
masterclass.
Absolute masterclass. And then, what was she? 27 in the Rumble. They gave her mythical 27. They gave her 27, and the place went nuts, and she delivered. Absolutely delivered.
In the building at the Rumble this year, and it was nuts.
Yeah,
so good.
She absolutely delivered. The biggest shock is she lifted Nia like she was a child. I said, "Oh my goodness, what is going on?" Yeah. No, so I think Mark comes back, I think, specifically to help out with some of the younger talent backstage, be that veteran presence and things like that. And with all these people leaving AEW, a lot of people that I think we talked about on your show were snagged up maybe because AEW didn't want them going anywhere else. I wouldn't be surprised if Show leaves. If Show's still even under contract, I would not be surprised if Show leaves, because Show turns more than NASCAR cars do. So I wouldn't be surprised. He does. I wouldn't be surprised if he leaves either. Let's go on to back to WWE as we return. King and Queen of the Ring. Absolutely pretty on par show with everything. Saudi show. it was a predictable show, but it doesn't mean that it wasn't fun. We knew mostly what was going to happen outside of a couple of things. But like I said, doesn't mean the quality was going to lack at all because it was a good quality show. The biggest surprise I think I had was Liv Morgan winning the title from Becky. And initially I was like, did they Summer of Punk Liv Morgan's run? Because Liv Morgan Revenge Tour is a t-shirt that should have been sold all the way through SummerSlam. I would have bought one. If I was going to SummerSlam, I'd be like, let me get a Liv Morgan Revenge Tour shirt. Like, I would be that guy because it fits the motif of Summer. And so I was like, why are you doing this early? Dom being an idiot and screwing it up, or maybe he didn't. We don't know yet. I was like, this seems rushed to me. But then you add the fact that Becky's contract is coming up soon, or has already expired, or will expire by the end of this week. And the fact that she wasn't supposed to be champion. This is an outlier. This was, hey, Becky, we need a favor because Rhea just shattered her collarbone, I think, and can't do anything. Like, we need you to hold the ship. This is clearly a favor that Becky said, okay, I'll do it, but I'm only doing it up to this point, and the rest you're on your own. And Becky did what she was supposed to do. She carried it for as long as she could. She pushed the storyline. She did her best to make Liv look like $1 million. I believe she has succeeded for the most part, but who knows what happens from there. It's all on Liv. What are your thoughts on that match in particular, Will Gray?
The Becky Liv match, and I'm going to be honest, I'm not a big Liv guy. She's not really my cup of tea in ring, in character. So I'm not a big, I'm not jumping out of my seat popping because Liv Morgan is now the women's world champion. That's just not the case in any capacity.
Yeah.
Becky is one of those people, though, where I feel like just about no matter what, she's going to put a banger on.
Yeah.
So going into it, I expected at minimum a good match. And that's kind of what we got. So it's almost disappointing because, like, Becky could do so well, but I think it was Liv that just kind of, like, she had to pull Liv up to match her, but she had to pull her so far up. Becky was only able to do so much. And it's just, maybe that's just me being, maybe nihilistic just because I don't care about Liv Morgan, but she just doesn't do it for me.
Yeah.
She's not convincing. And then when we get to what happened last night, we'll talk a little bit about that. It just, to me, it was good, not great. And when you're doing these huge shows, every match has to be great if there's only 5 matches. Every match in a pay-per-view has to be great anyways, but especially if there's only 5 matches on the card.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you only have 5 matches, which means you're getting a lot of time. You have to create, you have to deliver. That's what made original NXT so good, because it was the pressure of the moment. Triple H said, you guys are the match. There's only 5 of you. You're getting 20 to 30 minutes a match. Maybe 40 if you're the main event. I'm giving you enough time. Don't fuck this up. Is pretty much what it was during the takeover days.
No, 100%. Yeah.
You get enough time to tell a story, so tell the story. Like, there's no excuse for you not to tell the story with the time I'm giving you. So there's that. Obviously, we had the IC title match, which it happened. It's a thing. What's going on, Hex? It was a thing. That's still to be kind of drawn out. Sami Zayn is back to his great Captain Save-A-Ho character. If you watched Raw last night, he's out there saving some more hoes. And then we get the King and Queen of the Ring matches, which Gunther, perfect choice. Nia, I knew Gunther was probably going to win. But Nia Jax almost killing a woman on live TV. And
God, I would give anything to be in Lyra's spot, though.
Yeah.
Like, just to be honest.
Listen, they trust her a lot. I don't know if that has to do with the Becky influence and Becky vouching for her, but they trust Lyra a lot. She just got drafted. She went to the finals of the Queen of the Ring. She was a very convincing babyface. And Nia sat on her and did that they have to have a photo of her sitting on Lyra with the Yokozuna bonsai drop pose. It was picturesque, perfect for her to do that. It's I would get like if I could find that photo and blow it up and Meat and I'd be like, sign this for me, because that's a beautiful shot if they're able to get it. Um, but she I think more than Gunther, because Gunther's kind of a given. Gunther already kind of hails himself as like a king of the ring. Um, but I think Naya, from a character perspective, is going to run roughshod with this gimmick. Whether she's a very serious heel, but I still think she could do a lot more as a comical heel. Because you follow Nia Jax on the socials, Nia Jax is hysterical. Like, she's just a naturally goofy woman. Um, but her in this queen thing, her being emotional, her taking a knee to Triple H as the King of Kings gimmick, brilliant there. Um, and then her going straight into character and just telling Kayla to fuck off. Like, it was one of my favorite parts of the show. She was crazy about it. Like, Kayla showed up, she was like, get the fuck out of my face. I feel bad for Kayla sometimes. I hope she doesn't take it seriously. But I think Naya's going to be amazing. I don't think she'll win at SummerSlam. I wouldn't be surprised if she does. Uh, but I think Naya's going to be amazing of all the people winning.
If they don't do any shenanigans, then they keep the brand split real, and we do get Nia and Bailey as planned and announced on Friday, or when they do it on Friday, or whatever happens. I 100% will be behind that match. They will slap, they will beat the shit out of each other, and I honestly, I've been on Team Nia since she came back.
Absolutely.
Honestly. Like, her first run wasn't so. She made the comeback at the Rumble a few years ago, and then we really didn't see anything from her. But
they hit her for a while.
This most recent run, like, she's more convincing now as a champion than when she actually held the SmackDown Women's Championship.
Yeah.
That's what's wild to me, is this version of Nia Jax is the best version of Nia Jax. And if this is the one that doesn't hold the belt, that has to be seen as a fumble by WWE Creative, because you're absolutely right. Let her be the old school comedic heel. Like, let her lean into it and be the person. Like, think when Christian and Edge were doing the benefit for people with flash photography
5-second poses,
yeah, you know, like, have her lean into that. Maybe not that, but you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
That kind of like comedic heel, we don't give a shit, I'm gonna do whatever I want kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she would dominate that. And Bridget, you're wild for calling her Big J-Lo.
That is a very wild statement. But no, Naya's where Nia really impressed, obviously in the ring, but also her promo work. Like, so when she came back and she went up against Becky, the thing that sold me, Becky was all fiery, wanting to fight her, and she literally said, "You need this more than I do," and walked away. I was like, that's brilliant. It's like, that's absolutely brilliant. The second thing that she did was the presser when they were in Australia, which is where I think she should be the comedic heel. She goes, "Guys, I'm so happy to be in my hometown. I was born in Australia. So glad to be like, when my parents got smart and moved me to San Diego, but I'm so happy to be back." Like, I was like, this is great. This is absolutely great. She's going to get so much heat. So yeah, we got Queen Nia, King Gunther, and then we also have Cody, because Cody had adrenaline in his soul and had to be the guy who sponsors Prime. And listen, it was a great match. It was they had a little bit of a shorter build because everything's kind of so crunched up now. Like 3 weeks, we're gonna talk about Clash. But they did what he did. Cody saying, "Hey, I'm gonna treat you like a pro wrestler. You know, you're gonna be baptized by fire now," which I think was a great line for Cody to pull. You know, he's like, "I see you're dedicated to this. We're going to see how dedicated you are to this sport." And the match did what it needed to do, told a great story. Logan Paul, I hate saying it every time, he just gets it. And it upsets me because I don't like him as a person, but I respect him as a performer. He just gets it. And I can almost bet for sure he ad-libbed him and Cole. I think he ad-libbed him and Cole, and it was brilliant.
It felt like it was. And The one thing, and this is I have to nitpick here, and that's almost what makes me angry about Logan Paul in ring is I have to be nitpicky with him. And the
Yeah,
one thing is I feel like he gets exposed on the mic. When you give him a script and you expect him to be a good actor, that's where he has trouble because he's only good at being Logan Paul.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Even if you give him lines that sound like Logan Paul, he doesn't deliver them right. He's one of those like I'm not this is going to be wild and don't think I'm comparing him to this person. I'm just using a reference point to how he talks about doing his promos. And that was John Cena.
mm,
Cena was like, I never got scripted. They just gave me my talking points that they were like, you got to make sure you hit these points in
yeah.
your promo.
It's
And I feel
extemporaneous in
like
style, in nature.
exactly. And I think Logan Paul might be that person. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? I'm not saying he's anywhere remotely close to Cena. That's not what I'm saying. But I think he could be better if you just give him his talking points and you just let him riff as Logan Paul.
yeah. Now I get that. When I do my prepared speeches, I never write things. I'm a big talking point guy. Like, what do I need to hit? I'll get myself there when I need to get there. That's
I'm the exact
yeah.
same way. I used to be a script word for word guy for botch spots,
Can't do it.
and now it's literally like you've seen my notes.
Yeah,
Intro, pissed off for greatness, and like all I do is just tell me it's like a roadmap, like a blueprint
pretty
of what I
much.
need to make sure we talk about, and then I just fill in the gaps.
Yeah, we will get there. We just let us go. Just let me go. We will get there. That's the thing. And we've gone there. And King and Queen of the Ring, solid show. Again, expected outcomes for the most part. Outside of maybe the Becky and Liv thing, but when you really look into it, Liv had to win, and Liv also had to be put over like Rover as best as they could in a calamity that was that steel cage match on Raw. But after the show went off air on the USA Network, apparently it still was running on YouTube TV, and I saw this I think late last night, or well, the video started making rounds very quickly after the show got cut, like at 11 a.m. or not 11 at 11 p.m. That feed cut immediately. The same thing, yeah,
Hard stop.
hard stop. Same thing happened last week, with the Gunther winning and beating Jay. Hard stop. And it blows my mind. So we missed this live, but pretty much what happened, is Liv got out of the ring, she won, blah 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 blah. Dom obviously being a I can't fault Dom for this. It was such a cartoony finish, but I kind of liked it. Dom screwed up again, and then you have Dom's at the middle of the walkway. Liv is walking by him, and I knew what was going to happen because I saw the eyes. I saw Liv's eyes, and I go, she's going for it. I have seen those eyes in many different occasions, not on TV.
You know that look
Yeah.
when it's coming.
Yeah, I saw the look. I go, oh, here we go. And she just attacked this man on national TV, and the internet went ape shit. In my mind, I was like, you guys have to see this coming, right? Like, they've been setting this up for weeks. Sportsnet in Canada showed because hey, Canada's doing something right. Thank God for Canada. Seriously though. And the internet blew up. It has gotten extremely messy. This is now, outside of Cody, whatever's doing on SmackDown, this is the number one storyline in WWE right now. Yes, there were a lot of people probably on the socials, me included, saying it should have been me. And listen, I know we're supposed to hate Dom, but Dom in the last year and a half is in a storyline with Rhea where he's supposedly supposed to be sleeping with her. He got married in real life to somebody who I probably of equal caliber and looks or whatever. I think might have been to his longtime girlfriend, and is now. I see Surrender Cobra on his head. What has happened, Will Gray? We have to stop right now. What did I miss? I think we have breaking news. I have Surrender Cobra in his. Oh, I love nice Tennessee tattoo, by the way. What is going on, Will Gray? You speak to me here.
The TNA Women's Champion Jordan Grace just walked out in an NXT ring to square off against Roxanne Perez,
Oh my goodness.
holding the belt. on NXT TV. She's standing there with a
Whoa.
TNA belt, facing off with the NXT
Whoa.
Women's Champion.
Oh my
I don't mean
God.
to derail your show.
No,
I didn't
derail.
see this coming, and
Derail.
I would politely say I'm a foot in with TNA. I knew about her being at the Rumble.
Okay,
Okay,
that's a big deal then, yes.
I didn't know about this. This wasn't even on my radar, and she's cutting a promo in NXT right now. And
Oh.
she just said, "Let me introduce myself. I'm the TNA Knockouts Women's Champion on WWE."
Holy shit.
Wow.
Somebody's playing chess back there in corporate, and they're doing it real well. Wow. Because the last time TNA did a major collab, a major, really announced collab was a couple years ago with AEW. And I myself was highly critical of this partnership because when it played out, it was aggressively one-sided. And it did nothing for Impact at the time.
Mhm.
Absolutely nothing. I was like, this was a waste. It appears very clearly from the Rumble to apparently several minutes ago that TNA got out of that deal. and WWE came
big.
swooping in and said, "We will take care of you."
Let me speak out of turn right now.
Go right ahead, sir.
TNA has a fantastic working relationship with AAA. So this means
Is that on paper?
WWE,
Is that on paper? Like they made that public agreement, right?
they have an exclusive working relationship with one another.
Yeah.
So that means WWE now being in bed with TNA automatically makes it a menage a what the fuck.
Yes, it
because
does.
that means WWE, AAA, and TNA are out all three interlaced with one another by this working deal.
Yeah. Holy shit.
That's amazing. I love wrestling in 2020.
This is better than the multiverse saga in Marvel, right?
I did not see Jordan Grace showing up in WWE TV and challenging the women's world champion.
This is a champion versus this is an interpromotional champion versus champion.
Yeah. That's amazing. Like, I legitimately, as soon as her music hit and I looked at the screen, I was like, "Oh shit, guys!" Like,
yeah, as you pulled the Surrender Cobra, I was like, "What is going on?"
I've had it on, but volume's off. I'm not really listening. It's just there.
Yeah, I get
and
it.
Like, so all of a sudden, when I saw it, I was like, "Oh shit." That's big, man.
That's
like
huge. Because listen, you add WWE's NXT's women's division. I say the NXT women's division in particular because there is a boatload of untapped talent there, and they have the largest female roster between Raw, SmackDown, and NXT by leaps and bounds. And they're used a lot more on TV. You add that with arguably year in and year out for over a decade, the best women's division in all of pro wrestling, the TNA Knockouts division.
100%.
Yeah, you put them together. Jesus Christ. Only
the Knockouts division and NXT have collectively the two best booked women's divisions in pro wrestling, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And now they're together. Like,
this is wild.
I love everything about that. Like, I'm happy for NXT and Shawn Michaels. Like, the opportunity to work with TNA, like, that's gonna be amazing. Come on, Obafemi versus Moose.
Moose should have been an NXT years ago, but Moose screwed Moose. He did.
Moose screwed Moose is amazing when you say it that way, because like you think about it. And you're like, yeah, he kind of did. It's like the Rascals, too. Like, all four Rascals had a shot to be there, and only two of them pulled it off.
Yeah.
Like,
and one got, unfortunately, screwed out of it, but hey, it happens, unfortunately. But yeah.
1,000% agree with that statement.
Yeah.
And we know what he was accused of, and I'm like, when I hear the people standing up for that kid, I'm like, holy shit, maybe he did just get dicked over nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like a vengeful, spiteful woman cost this man millions of dollars.
Absolutely, and put Wesley on as like by himself. And Wesley's done good so far. But holy crap, wow, that totally took a turn on this show. That's probably the best breaking news we've ever had on this show, to be completely honest. That is a clear worlds colliding. So This has become a Cold War arms race between AEW and WWE. This is the total Cold War arms race right now. They are gathering. So you have AEW took New Japan,
Correct.
and all that New Japan can offer. WWE not only now potentially pretty much has TNA by default it's AAA, right?
AAA, because New Japan and CMLL
are with AEW,
and that's what AEW got.
Yeah.
WWE gets TNA and
AAA. Oh my god! And don't forget, WWE also has. They had who did they sent over William Regal's son to do the Triple Crown tournament?
All Japan Pro Wrestling.
They have All Japan. That was their counter.
Which is also Noah.
Pro Wrestling
Those
Noah,
two
yeah.
go together. So, like, because they've already done Pro Wrestling Noah as well, with Shin going over to do Great Muda's last match.
That's true.
So we're seeing some shit, Ricky.
Yeah, we're
seeing some shit.
And then don't forget, WWE already has been in bed for years with Progress over in the UK.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a Progress and there's the one in Germany, I think WXW as well.
WXW, yes, sir. Fantastic promotion too. If you're not into indie wrestling, those are two fantastic indie promotions.
They do have a lot of stuff on Peacock, I believe, as well, if you wanted to watch it. But holy shit, this beats Liv and Dom shit. Like, that is mind blowing.
I didn't mean to. Like I said, I apologize.
No, do not, sir.
Holy shit, that was big. She walked out, and I was like, "Holy crap!"
That is worlds colliding in the best way possible, which makes me believe that NXT is going to do Worlds Collide. They just haven't said anything yet.
I could 100%. I mean, I could see. I said it on our show a couple weeks back that it won't surprise. We will see Natalya Neidhart in a TNA ring before the end of the year, is what I said. And
yeah.
And now her showing up here makes that almost set in stone.
Yeah. Videos in our Discord.
Wild.
Thank you, Frats. Yeah. We have the video in the Discord. I will look at that a little bit later. Wild time. So yeah, Dom and Liv happened, but who cares at this point? So moving on, in 3 weeks' time from all of this, we have Clash at the Castle is occurring in Scotland, home of Drew McIntyre, and where he got cleared. He's going up against the bisexual Undertaker known as Damian Priest, looking very bisexual Undertaker in the shot for Clash at the Castle. This is probably going to be the main event because it's Drew. It's Scotland. This is the first thing that's announced. There's going to be more announced. This is a sprint. We only had 3 weeks to set this up. This is a sprint. And then we got SummerSlam. Well, we have Money in the Bank, and then SummerSlam.
Correct.
It's
going to be a summer.
Yeah, it's a fast summer. You have Money in the Bank, SummerSlam. We can't rule out NXT's Battleground. No, it's
Battleground.
Battleground is next week, and they already announced NXT Underground with Shayna and crap. What's her name? Oh, I totally forgot. It's Shayna and whoever Shayna was helping to beat Natty and them.
Lola?
Yeah, Lola. It's Shayna and Lola Vice in NXT Underground in the UFC Apex. Okay, so you have that. There was and Roxanne doesn't have somebody to fight. We might be seeing Jordynne Grace versus Roxanne in an NXT branded event in a week from now. That's absurd.
Mm-hmm.
That's absurd. Be what it may. We now have Clash at the Castle.
Wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We have Clash at the Castle. Drew Priest going on. My brain is fried. I love this. Here's the thing. This is a quick early prediction. I don't think Drew's winning. I think Punk screws this for him.
I think Drew wins only because Punk drew at SummerSlam.
Fair.
Like, if I were a betting man, because I would say they want that world title tied into Punk whenever he comes back.
Yeah.
Because he wanted the world title before he got hurt. So I would say Drew will probably win at Clash.
Okay. And that's a fine run. That's a fine run for Damian. I mean, it's only 2 months in the grand scheme of things. So what are you going to do? Because there's also the thing of like, you have to have Judgment Day be in complete shambles, either via Liv Morgan or Dom Mysterio by the time Rhea comes back. And I think, my initial thought when they put the title on Liv, I think Rhea's going to be back sooner than expected. Because I wouldn't be surprised if they set up Rhea Liv for SummerSlam. I would not be surprised at that at all. I think it's a high possibility that might happen.
I would be perfectly fine with that to be the case.
Yeah.
Like 100%. And I think that's kind of the perfect way to get Liv or to get Rhea out and away from Judgment Day, is to kind of let it, him losing the belt, and then it builds to Money in the Bank. Then something else happens. Rhea comes back. They start building to SummerSlam.
Yeah.
Rhea will get the belt back, but the rest of Judgment Day will be gone or in her rearview mirror, and she'll be dealing with just this Dom, like the Dominic Mysterio custody battle rewritten in history. This time it's Rhea and Liv.
Dominic on a pole, Dominic in a shark tank, suspended above the ring.
Yeah, Dominic on a pole match. There you go. That's exactly what we need in 2024. Is Dominic on a pole.
Listen, we had Darby Allin suspended in the air, so there's that. This could be a perfect setup for Rhea to come back. Listen, this storyline needs a lot of care, not Priest and Drew, because Priest already set the bar last night with calling out Drew's wife at the end of a promo. I was like, Jesus Christ. I saw it in his face too. He got to New York. He's like, oh, okay, so you're gonna, is that what you're trying to do? You're trying to break me? Okay, I just want to see something real quick. I know how he put together those words. I was like, oh, that's a New Yorker coming out, just about to talk shit. Real quick.
He laid it down too. Even if Damian only holds the belt for 65 days or whatever it is, I would still call that a win for your first title.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's had a couple of house show defenses. He defended it at France. If he loses it at a second pay-per-view, a handful of defenses over 2 months on your first title reign is a win. Dusty's first title reign was like 6 days.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Flair's first title reign was only 2 weeks or something crazy.
Jericho's first title was 2 hours, I think. Something like that.
No, you're right. Yeah. And then he came back and won the undisputed title and beat Rock and Austin both in one night.
Exactly,
so all of that goes to show you, your first title reign means nothing.
It's a test run.
Exactly. Just to make sure you can be the guy. Look at Orton. Orton was the youngest champion on the planet, and they dropped it from him in 3 weeks for the same reason. He just wasn't ready yet.
Yeah.
And so I think a good 2-month run is perfect for your first title reign. You made it for 2 pay-per-view cycles. That's good.
Yeah, no, that's very good. You were able to hold the show down for that.
Yeah.
So we're going to have more on that a little bit later. But let's move on to Double or Nothing, after the calamity that has been this show and the breaking news of all breaking news. I thought Arn and Jake Hager was going to be the biggest thing we had on the show, but apparently not. Because we still have to talk about people being set up on fire on Double or Nothing. In all honesty, and I watched most of Double or Nothing, outside of a little shenanigans aside, very good show. Very, very good show. Some people are saying it's better than Mania Night 2. I disagree, wholeheartedly. But that's more so from an entertainment perspective. Wrestling's perspective-wise, very good show. A little bit long in the tooth time-wise. Not every match deserves 30 minutes and 60-minute time limits. Get rid of that, for God's sakes. We all know it's not going that long. We all know Will Ospreay and Roddy Strong aren't going for 60 minutes. Stop it. It's match 1. Shut up. It doesn't actually happen that way. But overall, it was really great. Mercedes won, just what I tuned in for. There was a lot of calamity, a lot of cycle, craziness going on. We had a return, we had a debut, we had Edge breaking his leg as well, because that got announced. And we had attempted vehicular manslaughter with somebody being tied to a rope and suspended in midair. We had that same person return and try to successfully set somebody on fire. And that's the babyface, folks. We broke a lot of rules in Double or Nothing. We broke a ton of rules in Double or Nothing, but overall, it was a pretty wild show in and of itself. What was your highlights, Will Gray?
I would say my big highlights and my biggest takeaways from the whole night. Match of the night, 100% for me personally. Roddy and Will Ospreay. I think they stole the show. I said my sleeper match though was the Orange Cassidy Trent Beretta match. I think those two tore the house down. They did great for the story they were telling and everything that's happened since Best Friends broke up. I still want to see Trent Beretta go back to Rocky Romero and reform a heel Roppongi Vice. I think that would be dope.
Nice.
So give me that maybe. I would say my lows, the Jericho match. I don't care.
Do
You
you
know,
know
like
they're giving him a talk show segment on Dynamite this week?
he doesn't need it.
He's getting it.
Why? Why would we do that? What's the point of giving? You're worried about ratings and you're dealing with your TV and you're getting ready to renew your TV deals. So you give Chris Jericho a talk show spot, huh?
Yep. He's the learning tree.
Why?
He's the learning tree.
Why?
I don't know.
That no. No, thank you. He's it's got to be the low, and I talk about it all the time. Like, you can only do so much before the amount of bullshit you did in your career starts to get outweighed by the bullshit you're doing now. Like, the bad will eventually outweigh the good with what he's done in his career, even if he has 25 years of being one of the best. Like, you can do a lot of damage to that in 5 or 6 or 10 years just doing fucking learning trees and all of that nonsense.
It's pretty simple. And it's said best. It's a line that's been quoted since it came out in Dark Knight. You either die a hero or live long enough to see yourself become the villain. Jericho is way past being wrestling's hero. He is seated pretty comfortably as the villain, and he needs to know it's time to go.
He's okay with being the villain, though.
That's the problem. That's the problem. He doesn't care. And for a while, Jericho was a man of the business. He almost got into a shoot fight with Brock Lesnar after he thought he bloodied up Randy Orton. Like, he's for the boys,
100%.
He's for the boys. He gets the business, but I think it's that fame monster, as Lady Gaga once said. It's an addiction, and Jericho doesn't understand he might have a problem now, and it might be getting in the way of progress for the company that he helped to build.
He's not helping. What do the people call it online? The Jericho vortex?
That sounds about right.
Where, like, you work with Chris Jericho and you just get in and you just fucking sink and get buried because Jericho doesn't actually know how to put anybody over. He's doing the whole, I'm going to put the young talent over and work with them. But think about it. Who has Jericho worked with that has came out and been like, dude, he is so much better because of that Jericho feud? Other than MJF, but doesn't count because MJF is a self-made man. Like, I'm also biased as fuck, but like, nobody has happened with MJF with Jericho where you're like, holy shit, like, he's better off because of that Jericho feud. And I just don't get it.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't get it. I'm over Chris Jericho. He used to be one of my favorites, and now he's just like, like, why? Why are you on my TV?
Yeah, at this point, for his mind only, he's probably better as a backstage agent.
True. And that's not true, Taekwon. I don't like Goldberg. I'm not really a big Colt Cabana guy. Like, that's not necessarily true.
Yeah. Outside of Jericho and the FTW Double or Nothing, which clearly could have been on Dynamite or an episode of Collision, what else do we have going on in this? We had Sasha winning, of course, obviously, because she had to win. You're giving her $10 million. You're not going to have her win her first match. Title or not, she's winning that match. You have too much 100%. Money invested in that. You had the triple main events that all happened one after another, which, in my opinion, as good as the show was, giant misstep. And hopefully it'll be rectified the next time I do a major show like All In. Swerve kind of got overshadowed by Anarchy in the Arena, which I kind of dislike because Swerve's doing a phenomenal job as a pure wrestling champion. Heel or babyface, non-understanding. He looks great as a champion. And I noticed he had the championship mentality and look when he came out at All In Wembley last year. I go, that's your new guy. Like that's the guy. And they finally got around to it. And it's one of those things where he might be overshadowed because now you have MJF back and you have this whole elite versus AEW hodgepodge of a story that's going on right now. I wouldn't be surprised if Tony Khan turns out to be Eric Bischoff and be the culprit of us all. Like I can see it going that way very, very quickly. And I think Swerve's in just a shit position in a turn and in a time where he should be highlighted. Because if you look at it from a grand scheme of things, AEW, the most successful thing AEW did in 5 years was make Swerve a champion, because they did what took WWE over 50 fucking years to do. They said, we see you, color notwithstanding, you're our guy. They made an African American world champion in 5 years of the company. It took WWE about 55 minimum to put it on Kofi.
And it took the NWA well over 50, because it was 1943 to 1990. What was it? 2?
Yeah.
1990. No, it was later than that. Sorry, it's 2002 when R-Truth won the NWA title.
Yes, it was. Yeah, he was the first one, right?
Yes, he was. So it was 60 years for the NWA then.
Yeah, and Ron Simmons won WCWs in
1986.
Yeah. So they like. It's a shame, because I've watched some of AEW, it's a shame they don't highlight that. I think it's a massive misstep. That should have been the thing. That should have been in Swerve's promos going into when he won at Dynasty. That should have been the highlighted thing that the commentators talk about. That should be a talking point at all of Tony Khan's pressers. Although he says a bunch of wild shit, all he had to do was say that. That's going to turn heads. That's how you create a bigger audience. You made legitimate progressive wrestling history, and you don't talk about it. I think that, like, marketing, that's a misstep, I think.
100%. And I also think that in the bigger scheme of things, Swerve is kind of suffering from the same thing that happened with Adam Page. Where everything around him is being made to look bigger than the world title.
Yeah.
Because you think when Hangman had the belt, it was the MJF thing. He had just came back, and it was when is he going to win the belt, or when is he going to go after the belt, and all of that. And then the build for Blood and Guts, ironically around this same time, and all of that was happening during Hangman's reign. It made Hangman Adams Page world title feel secondary.
Yeah.
And it's fucking sucks that they're doing this to Swerve, because like you said, he's the first one. He should feel like the most important part of the show, and they booked him to kick a match off at 7:58 p.m. at the turn of the hour. And I was like, you still have over an hour of TV left. Your world champion is going to come out, win a match, and leave. And then nobody's going to think about him for now a full week and an hour. You know what I mean? Like, it just seemed weird to me for the world champion, the most important person on your roster, to not be the last face we see.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's that one wild storyline that got bigger. And, I mean, at least the Young Bucks are still playing into their gimmick, whether they like it or not, overshadowing all their talent. And that's apparently what they do best. And they totally went off the rails in this Anarchy in the Arena match. And if you love a demolition derby, you got it in Anarchy in the Arena. And like, I didn't watch it live, but I was getting updates from my friend who was watching it live, and they were like, this is absurd. They're like, I don't know what's going on. They're like, it's almost midnight. Somebody got set on fire. Someone drove a truck into the arena. They're blasting music. They were forced to turn the music off. I was like, what is going on? I know you watched it live, Will Grant. I know you have a lot of thoughts. You loved this match.
I thought it was entertaining. like you don't watch a match like this for the wrestling. You
don't.
watch the match like this for the entertainment side of it, for them taking turns on the mic, stop playing that, play my music now, and then Daniel Bryan's like, now play the greatest entrance theme in wrestling history, and they play the final countdown, and it plays for like 5 minutes. Then Nick Jackson's like, turn that shit off. Every time you play it, it costs me $200,000. We've got a budget here, people. And they go back and forth for the 25 or 30 minutes, whatever it was, to end the pay-per-view. And to me, again, you're not watching it because you want to see headlocks and takeovers and, hip tosses and stuff. Like, you watch this because you want to be entertained. You want to watch Jack Perry get dunked in an ice bath and then he run down, Darby Allin with a bus. You want to watch FTR get busted open with unprotected head chair shot. Twisted people. Like, it's just a good old-fashioned train wreck, and they did it perfectly. Yeah, people are going to go, it was unnecessary, you didn't have to do this, blah, blah, blah. The babyface lit the hill on fire. Like, who cares? In 2024, especially in AEW, there's hardly a real babyface. There's hardly a real heel. Anybody can turn on a dime because it's cool to be the bad boy. You know what I mean? Like... I thought it was cool. Was it perfect? Not by a long shot. But on paper, if you look at the ratings I gave WrestleMania Night 2 and you look at the ratings that I gave Double or Nothing, just purely based on match ratings, it was like 3.8 to 4.2.
Yeah.
That they were within half a point apart as far as like overall match performance. And granted, my shit doesn't matter. I'm, this big in the wrestling world, but they match quality work just based on the wrestling. They were that close.
Yeah.
And still, I loved Night 2 of WrestleMania. Thought it was brilliant. Yeah. But Double or Nothing was a banger.
Yeah, it is their best. It is their best show of the year, by and large, at all. And I was at WrestleMania Night 2, and I've never felt. I'll tell you this right now. I don't think I actually mentioned this to you. I've never been so physically exhausted from a show than after the main event of Night 2. I was like, I have been sports entertained. I am tired. Like, I need to go home and sleep. I am exhausted. It was the gong. The gong did me in. The most unexpected thing I've ever been a part of. And I was there when the Hardys came back, and I didn't see that coming. That one totally took me for a loop. But that gong was just beautiful, beautiful magnifique storytelling. Speaking of magnifique storytelling, hey folks, MJF is back. MJF is back doing, clearly in this photo that I have of him, 50 shades lighter than what he showed up in at Double or Nothing. He went pretty crazy with the spray tan. I will tell you, he looks fantastic. He dropped a lot of weight. He was very puffy in like his original one, but he cut. He's very lean. He looks like he's better able to perform for the long haul than what he first was, which, hey, good for you, stay in wrestling as long as you can, keep that longevity going. And this is where all the craziness in my head, like, I noticed a spray tan, I noticed O2 Triple H just walking to the ring, just not as buff. It was almost like a clothing shop for clothing shop, O2 Triple H, but he had the Burberry on the back, which I thought was really freaking funny. He mentions that he's back and he's not going anywhere. He has, in my opinion, a cringeworthy tattoo. It's like you put the trophy on the arm of your team that's gonna win like the Super Bowl at the beginning of a year, just hoping and praying this isn't a bad decision, And it was, for me, it was. Here's my thing on it. Like, MJF, I love him. He's a Long Island person. I gotta support the Long Island person at some point. But I also know he's a Long Island deuce, and that's not a character he's playing. That's him. Like, that is him. I know where he's from. I know the town he grew up in. That's him. That's him. 100%. But if you're selling yourself, you are a self-made man, and you don't need anybody to do that. Why bring up the other company? Why do a blatant cosplay of a executive from another company from 20 years ago? Like, that is one of my big gripes with AEW as a particular, like you are running your own race. And surprisingly enough, you're doing a pretty good job, all things considered. There is no need for you from your owner at a media interview for the NFL draft to you when you return after being gone for 5 months to bring up anybody in any reference to the other company in your comeback promo. Like, we get it. You're on TV. You didn't sign. Why are you bringing this up? Why are they still living rent free in your head? Like, you are your own person. Stand on that. WWE's not talking about you. They did that once with Sami Zayn in that really random promo segment on Raw, and they were like, "Oh, yep, never again." You know, and at this point, the fact that you guys are still bringing it up shows that it still has an effect on you. And I think that kind of brings down your product, because every time you mention it, it's going to have a WCW effect. They're going to be like, oh, why are they so mad at WWE? What's going on there? And that's how you lose people. They have to stop doing this, and MJF has to stop doing that as well. Like, the Triple H cosplay alone, I can forgive, because, hey, who didn't love that moment? Like, who didn't love that moment? But to bring up Vince? Why? He's not a factor in WWE for almost as long as he's been out of as long as MJF's been away. I just like, as for all the good that's going to be for AEW, with MJF returning, there's no need to bring up WWE anymore. You've solidified yourself as another alternative. No need to continue to compare yourself.
Okay, I'll give you that. That is the one critique I can get from the man's return. He didn't need I didn't need no New Japan or Vince McMahon, like 1,000% unnecessary line. But other than that, the man knocked it out of the park.
Oh, he always does.
Like,
great
the
orator.
vignette coming. Oh yeah, the vignette walking through the mansion, walking into the room, seeing all the little pieces of MJF, but the only thing he takes is the Dynamite Diamond ring.
Yeah.
And then you see him come out, and they almost gave you that little bit like, okay, maybe he's not back. It's just the teaser that he will be. But then when he walked out, I was like, holy shit, dude. Like, this is it.
Yeah. No, it was a great moment. From a storyline perspective, like MJF coming back and Adam Cole coming back, because Adam Cole was injured for a lot of this run that he was supposed to do, I was just like, this doesn't really mean anything to me, because like the story's dead. The story is dead.
Oh yeah, no, it died.
Yeah, the story is dead. So I was like, this is kind of unnecessary. But like, if you weren't like, if Team AEW was going to win, which clearly they didn't, I would have had MJF return instead of Darby. Have MJF be the surprise fourth man of Team AEW, and I think that would have done wonders for me. I see why they didn't, because the Elite won it. So this is like the best they can do, but I'm interested to see what MJF does with this return. Like, does he finish off Adam Cole? Do you really need to? I don't think so. I think the kick in the nuts is the best way to end the story at this point. Just kick him in the nuts and move on. At this point, it's dead. It's dead. Have MJF do something with somebody. Have him go after Ospreay. Screw it. Have him go after Ospreay. Or give him the vacant TNT title, because that's going to be vacant because Edge broke his leg. And Edge is 50. He's not coming back for a while. You got to give MJF something, but he can't go after Swerve just yet. I would love MJF Swerve as the main event of All In.
That would make sense.
And you got to give MJF something to work towards that. And if there's anything we've seen with AEW is that they make their wrestlers work towards getting that big title shot. And it's going to be interesting to see what they do with MJF, who's arguably their biggest star in the company ever, regardless of what Bleacher Report ranked him, which I thought was bullshit. In that ranking system. I think he was number 3. They gave Mox number 1. I was like, wow, huge misstep. And I love Mox. But he didn't deserve number 1. But that's the MJF thing. The other thing I have with the MJF is not with MJF at all. It's the final thing we're talking about. It's this goddamn t-shirt. The spray tan aside, which looks ridiculous. MJF's been gone since December. Okay. They had their big show on Long Island. That was his little farewell. Well, he was gone. He had the Players Tribune article. That was great. I know there are better artists in pro wrestling tees and AEWs that they have on payroll that could have done a better job than this Comic Sans Times New Roman BS that I'm looking at on my screen. Outside of the fact that he stole the Wolf of Wrestling stick from Stephen Wolf, which he said this has happened to me 3 times before, and I'm glad he's a good sport about this. But you have a plain black shirt with generic white font on both sides of the shirt, and you're selling this on shopaew.com. It's not really a promo here. This is just a fact. There was no.
It's a terrible shirt design.
Do you remember when WWE with that whole stint of doing like just random printing fonts and stuff like that? I was like, this is kind of shitty. This is worse.
This looks like I told you last night. It looks like it was made in Microsoft Paint. Like they just used the text tool to type the words out, the Wolf of Wrestling, saved it as a PNG, and put it into their Cricut.
Yeah.
Like that's what it looks like.
This is your number one guy. This is like your only pillar you have left standing. No one has seen Britt Baker forever. Darby's too busy almost getting hit by buses in real life. So like, this is your
and Jack Perry literally got lit on fire.
This is your last guy standing. You've got to do better. Hell, when Edge came back, even though Edge is an artist on the low, like Edge likes to draw. When Edge came back, he had a shirt primed and ready. There's a video package. I think it's his 24. He was in Connecticut, sitting with the creative and the merchandise team, being like, "Here are my ideas. Can we get this done for the Rumble?" When Cody came back, Cody had 3 shirts. By the time Cody appeared in the Cody Vader at 38, that shirt was on sale in every kiosk in Dallas. As soon as he
that doesn't surprise me.
WWE's notorious for that. Like there is clearly no plan here, and this is upsetting. Like these are the little things that you look at AEW and be like, really? Like you got to do better at the small things sometimes.
Even if they were rushed, they could have gotten a better design out than just a type-on shirt. Like just a text-based shirt. There was no design to it. There's no logo. There's no Burberry or anything.
Not one Burberry at all.
Text. Yeah. Like it was a terrible design, and it might be up there with some of the worst wrestling shirts I've ever seen.
I'd rather buy a Y2 AJ shirt, and that's just clearly on nostalgia.
Yeah. No, 100%.
Like, it's disappointing. And if I were MJF, I would throw a fucking fit. I'm like,
I would be big mad about it.
I'd be like, seriously, this is the best we can do? Like, you're the top guy. Like, a picture of his face screaming or something. Like, you've got to do more than this. Anything, for the love of God. Fretch, you almost bought a Y2 AJ shirt at Comic-Con? You buffoon. That's like the legendary shirt that only got sold for a week. You could sell that for at least $50. Somewhere. At least. There's gonna be some crazy collectors like, yeah, the Y2 AJ shirt, you got it? Yeah. Yeah, you gotta get that Y2 AJ shirt. But yeah, don't get this shirt. I wouldn't. I can make this shirt. I can make this shirt and sell it on my merchandise website.
100%. I could have made a better shirt, and I barely have a working knowledge of InDesign and Photoshop. Yeah. Like I have barely a working knowledge of them, and I could out-design a shirt than the Wolf of Wrestling. I'm never effing leaving.
Like, do a wolf with a Burberry scarf. That's a great design right there.
100% anything. A dire wolf from Game of Thrones. Make it look old school medieval style and put the Burberry on the crest of it or something with it. Like anything. And saying the words, "I'm never fucking leaving," even with your biggest guy. This is one of those things where acknowledging that it didn't happen acknowledges that it could have.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's a good point. That's a good point. Yes.
You know what I mean? Like the fact that he's acknowledging I'm not going anywhere means to me there was a possibility that he was gonna.
He entertained the idea. He could.
And to me, if you entertained it, that means it's never done.
Nope.
You know what I mean?
Nope. And I think it all came down to timing. I think that's what it was. I honestly think it came down to timing. I think when he was being courted, because he was gone for a while. He was gone for a very, very long time.
December through now, so over 5 months.
Yeah. He was gone for a very, very long time, and I think it came down to timing and his health. Because I was almost certain we were getting the Burberry and that theme song on Raw after Mania when Cody showed up, when Cody came back with the belt. Because I was like, what a perfect way. Cody's has a big celebration. His AEW nemesis MGF shows up. It would have been perfect timing. He lives on Long Island. He can travel to Philly within 2 to 3 hours, and no one would know that he showed up. He can go under the cover of night or what have you. Obviously didn't happen. I think he had a lot of health stuff going on, and it probably was the easier option for him right now. But he's still very, very young. He's gonna leave at some point. There's something holding him from being there, and I think it's because he probably feels like he has more stories to tell. A lot of wrestlers leave in promotions because they don't have anything left to tell. Edge left WWE because he had nothing else to do. There's no other story he could tell. Yeah.
Can I tell you something that I noticed as somebody I've been in more than one locker room. I've watched more than a couple guys lace their boots, guys and gals collectively. Yeah. His tattoo is perfectly positioned that for the rest of his career, you will never have to see it if he so chooses because he wears tall boots.
That's true.
Even if he does go to WWE and he could go out there in black tights and black boots and you still would never see that AEW tattoo because it'll be covered up by his tall boots. So even if he bet on himself for this contract in 5 years, he could still go to WWE and not give a shit.
Yeah. It's true.
Like, I'm not a dummy. I wasn't born yesterday. It wasn't too long ago though. But like that's the thing. Like he put it in a position where it's easily covered. For a long time, you couldn't tell I had tattoos unless I chose for you to be able to tell I had tattoos. Correct. And then I reached a point where I stopped giving a shit. But now, like, he did that. He made it a point. You're not going to be able to tell he has that tattoo unless he wants you to see it.
No, that's a good point. So the door will always be open for MJF because if he has a fantastic run, which it seems like he is hell-bent on having a fantastic run, which means his stock at the time that he does, let's say he signs a 5-year, so by the time, 2029, 2020, 2030 rolls around, he'll be WWE ready. Very much so.
I think his next contract, he'll be in WWE by the 2030s. He'll end his career in WWE with a title there.
I would agree. I wholeheartedly would agree with that, and hopefully he gets a better t-shirt treatment than what he got right now because that is atrocious. But ladies and gentlemen, that pretty much concludes our show this week with Mr. Will Gray from Botched and Share Shots Podcast. Will, the floor is yours. What would you like to promote right about now?
First and foremost, King Ricky, I want to say thank you for allowing me to be in place of the other Will.
Yes, the other Will.
A very fine substitute for this Will.
Yes.
I appreciate it. I'm glad to be here. If you're interested in my shenanigans elsewhere and you're listening to this, you can check my link tree anywhere you do anything on the internet at the Will Gray. And when you find that link tree, it'll take you everywhere I do everything for Botched and Share Shots, Rivet City Radio, Off the Top Media, and my writing profile for Last Word on Sports.
There you go. Pretty short, simple, and to the point. So with that being said, Will, you're going to stick around for the post show for a little bit?
Yeah, I'll hang out.
We're gonna talk some college football on the post show. Actually, there's some fun stuff going on in college football these days. So he's gonna stick around for the post show. But until then, folks, ladies and gentlemen, you have been listening to Kings of the Rings podcast, episode number 377, A Court of Anarchy. Yes, just like the book, I'm kind of a bibliophile these days. I'm your host, King Ricky Rose. You can find me at Ambassador Biggs across all social media outlets, BIGZ, Ambassador Biggs, across Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, some people's DMs, less people's text messages, BIGZ, Ambassador Biggs. Find Kings of the Rings podcast at KOTR_podcast across all social media outlets. Like, share, subscribe, leave us 5-star reviews, buy some of our fantastic merch. I got to update some of that. The link is in the description below. By the way, that merch is probably going to be the Wolf of Wrestling. Find Find Wrestle Addict Radio's socials at addict_wrestle on Twitter and at Wrestle Addict Radio everywhere else. Again, the links all of that are in the description below. When I come back next week, hopefully I'll have one of my hosts back, and we'll talk about whatever's going on with Liv and Dom. We're going to preview NXT Battleground. There might be more TNA integration like we saw tonight. The sky is the limit in the world of wrestling. The Cold War of wrestling has begun. Doors are being broken. No doors are forbidden anymore, except for door for Slack to be on the show, because fuck you, Slack. Goodbye, good night, and we'll see you next week. Always had to get that Slack integration in there, but I got it. One of these days, have I ever told you guys? Have I ever told you a story of Slack?
No, please do.
So I will tell you.
I'm sending a pitch idea. I'm typing, and I apologize for being on my phone.
It's the post show. It's fine.
Post show. I'm pitching an idea right now about the Cold War thing to Last Word on Sports.
Nice. it's an arm. It's at this point, it's a global arms race of pro wrestling.
Yeah.
So Slack was this fan of ours, one of our Canadian fans, not the first one, but one of our Canadian fans, stumbled upon us when we were early up. Like myself, Will, and our friend Dave, who we really started doing the show together. It was important where Will had his own recorder, like a recorder, and we shared a microphone. And we all sat in a room together and passed the mic around. That's how we produced the show.
Yeah.
You know, that's how we produced the show. I eventually got my own mic because I was emceeing at bars. And so we had two mics for a while. It was the most like hack job of a podcast for a long time.
No, you're absolutely right.
And so,
like, we did when my first probably 5 episodes, me and my old co-host Bobby would sit in my little shoebox of apartment and do the same thing because it was audio only.
Yeah.
So we'd hit record on Adobe Audition, and I would say something into the mic, and then I would hold it over to him while he talked, and then I would be like,
yeah.
This is pretty much what we would do for
Pretty
an hour
much.
and a half, like back and forth.
Pretty much for the same thing. So we got a following through that, and then I started taking over the socials, and I still have taken over the socials for this day. And around the holiday season, I used an Xbox 360 head first. That's right, you did, Frets. And so the what was it? I think the holiday season, like 2016, 2017ish, maybe 2017, I don't remember. Slack ends up sending us a video appreciation message on Twitter saying how much he enjoys us and he really likes us, blah, 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 blah. And granted, I interact with Slack the most because I'm 2017. Thank you, Frets. I interact with Slack the most because I'm the one running the social media and stuff like that. And I always tell them on the show, like, hey, I'm a social media guy of Kings of the Rings podcast, blah, 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 blah. So he starts out, we saw the video. And I was like, guys, we got to do something with this video, you know, because we're trolls at heart. We're trolls at heart. So, like, it was our first fan video. We were really appreciative of it, but, like, we were like, we have to shit on this. Like, we have to shit on this. So we played the audio version of the video because it was audio on. We played the audio version, and we just ripped it to shreds. Like, there's no way he should be our fan to this day. Because he starts out by saying, it's like, hey, I don't know which one of you guys runs the social media. And I go, fucking Christ, Slack. I like pause the video right now. It's like, I tell you guys every week, I'm the social media ambassador. Like, take a look at the picture, Slack. It's the black guy. That's me. Like, I'm the one doing this. And we ripped it on this video for about 7 minutes at the end of our show. And then we told him thank you. Then we told him thank you. And so we started doing a trope that every year we would get him on the show, but it wouldn't be the same time every year. And then we'd like make a joke that it was his birthday every year. And so we would do thematic stuff. So like one time he's like, I want to get on the show. I was like, and we were like, all right, so if you want to get on the show, number one, you're hired as our intern. And as an intern, you have to bring a sign to Raw saying you're the intern of our show. And he actually did it.
That's the best. Is when you like make up these positions. And I'll use AJ as an example because we kind of did that with him. Like for Nerdy News specifically, he would just show up and be like, "Hey, I sent you this stuff on like Instagram for the show." And then I just one day on air was like, "Hey, you're the EVP of Rivet City Radio now." And like he's in email list now and he's got access to the Nerdy News sheet so he can add and take off articles and stuff as he wants. And it's like, AJ's never even been on a show. Like, why do you have access to company documents?
Yeah,
like
we've
he's AJ is our dude on the couch.
Yeah, no, we mess with Slack so much. So like one time we did a Thanksgiving special, so we called it Slacksgiving. We've had him on. we had him on Single Day Miles, so we took a picture of him and we put his face on the head of the lead singer of MCR, and then put a sombrero on him, and it's called it Single de Slacko because we were doing Single de Mayo for him. We've had his dad on the show instead of him.
That's awesome. You got his dad on the show?
So he was with his parents and whatnot, and then right before we started doing a show, his dad came on to like see us. He's like, "Hey, that's the guy," and we were like, "Hey, Mr. Slack, like we gotta talk to you," because like his last name is legitimately Slack. Yeah,
okay.
And Mr. Slack. we were like, Mr. Slack, you're awesome, and we kind of have a mythological Hall of Fame, and we've inducted several people into the hall, and we've always made a promise that before Slack gets to the Hall of Fame, we're going to induct his father.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Slack's going into the hall, but it's his dad, and you wait till that night, and you think.
Yeah, yep. No, we have, and that's where "fuck you, Slack" came from. It was just that's the kind of way we just end the show by saying "fuck you, Slack," because he kind of. It's really bad. We actually haven't had him on in like over almost 2 years, and we're like, we got to get him on at some point, right? Like, eventually he'll get.
Just keep it long-term storytelling, my friend.
Oh, such a long-term storytelling thing. But anywho, that's a slut.
Why are you propositioning me so hard for a dick pic? What do you know? What do you know? Why are you so interested in my wiener?
That's a very good question, actually.
I mean, all you got to do is ask. I'll send you one. I'm equal opportunity. Like, my love knows no bounds, Ty. If you want to see a picture of my dick butt, I will send you one.
Yeah, all right. So, yeah, it did break Bleacher Report that Jordan Grace showed up on NXT. Oh, it is official. She's getting a title shot at Battleground. We're getting Jordan Grace, Roxanne Perez at Battleground. Wow.
Oh, yeah, no, it was big. Like I said, when I dropped that and like I did the Cobra thing and I was like, oh
yeah,
fuck.
Surrender Cobra.
Like, that was real life. Like I was like, holy shit, I didn't expect Jordan Grace just to come walking through the curtain at an NXT show.
Yeah. Yeah. And like the big thing was Sexy Red. It was Sexy Red. Holy crap. I can't wait to see the socials when this is all over. Yeah. So I know you're a big college football person, as you wear a UT hat all the time and everything. Are you a big college football video gamer?
I think I might have to be now.
Oh, you're gonna be new to this venture.
I played when we used to get them in the 2010s, 2011, 12, 13, 14-ish. Yeah. But like I got burnt out on Madden because to me,
makes sense.
Madden felt like the exact same game every single fucking year. Like the only reason I got Madden 23 was because it was a gift.
Fair,
you know what I
very
mean?
fair.
Like, you know what I mean? Somebody asked me if I wanted a copy of it, and I was like, yes, I do. I'll play it, please. So I got it, and it was fun. But then you think about the fact that like it was just an updated roster every year. The mechanics didn't really change. But what excites me about this is I'm a bigger college football fan than I am professional football fan. I will keep up with college football. I don't root for any other teams outside of UT, but I will keep up with what's happening through the season and how everybody's playing ball and stuff because it's my favorite sport outside of pro wrestling, college football specifically. So I'll keep up with it and follow it and do it. I love but because the players are still so hungry. they're still playing for that next thing in line. You know, when I
Yeah.
feel like when the guys get to the NFL to a certain extent, it's almost like some of them are phoning it in.
Yeah.
You know, like some of them don't play quite as hard. The position players do because they want to make the money. But like some of the offensive linemen and shit, it's just a job to them at that point. Like that's what I like about college ball is that they're still hungry. So being able to play this game, it'll be a new game.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what I'm excited for.
Yeah, no. You probably know the story. They shut down, obviously, through all the arbitration with NIL and stuff like that. And the Supreme Court and the government actually did something right for the people and said, hey, you just actually play these people.
Yeah.
You know, and I think the NCAA just settled 3 cases because they were up against 3 antitrust federal court cases, and they did a joint settlement on the class to avoid pretty much getting fucked in court. And said, hey, we're going to agree to pay out these players. I think it's like an estimated $20 billion in shared revenue from people who played from 2016 to the present.
Yeah, it's like I saw some guys, some people were getting as little as checks for like $60, and then there were some dudes that were getting 6 figures because of like their likeness and stuff and what the university was using
them for.
Like your Derrick Henrys of the world, you know what I mean? Winning Heisman trophies and shit. Like they didn't get paid they got a fantastic education.
Sure.
But they did not get a monetary payment.
Yeah.
And I say that specifically because like I value my education.
Mm-hmm.
You know, sometimes I don't come across as the most educated person, but I am a baccalaureate. I have a bachelor's degree. I attended and graduated college. I'm proud of that fact. You know what I mean? Like at the same time, though, it's like some of these guys, I feel like, don't take advantage of that. Some of these guys are getting access to the best educations on the planet, and they only care about their sport.
Yeah.
Some guys will go in there and get their degrees in 4 years and then still play an extra year of football because they've got the eligibility for it. And I'm here for it. I think that's where the balance needs to lie. Some of the boys that are coming in and playing ball are in the NIL system. They're going to come in and play for 2 seasons. They're going to sign a first-round contract and get paid $1 million bazillion to go to the NFL. The NIL system isn't for those players. The NIL system is for the guys that are going to be at the schools for 4 and 5 years who need an income while they dedicate their lives to making that school hundreds of millions of dollars, like what we were talking about earlier, UT and Neyland and all of that stuff.
Yeah, no, absolutely no. You need to really, really do that. It was actually fascinating. You ever see the movie Air? The one about the Jordans,
the shoes, right?
Yes. The guy who helped. So the crazy part about that is that, and what made that deal essentially the catalyst for NIL years ago was because when Converse had the market for the NBA in the 80s, and it's if you've seen people play ball in Converses, it scares me. Even when I was young, I was like, "There's no way you should be able to play ball in those sneakers." But they would get literally like a flat fee. They get like $1,000 or something. So this is a made up number. They get like $1,000 for like a one-time fee for that. Jordan bucked the trend and said, "No. Don't give me a one-time payout." Essentially said, give me stock options. You know, give me a percentage of the revenue that you make on this shoe. You know, and that's why Jordan's a billionaire. It has nothing to do with basketball. It's because someone who was smarter than him at the time, because he didn't want to sign with Nike at all. He's been very blatant about that in anything he's been on TV about or written. He did not want to sign with Nike. Nike was a tennis shoe company. You know, somebody said, give me a percentage of the revenue of the sales of a shoe. And they said, yeah, fuck it, whatever. And it sold like 200 million copies the first year. 200 million pairs of sneakers. And they had a hit. And because of that, there was the guy who helped broker that deal was actually one of the lead defendants, or one of the lead people in the original Supreme Court case for NIL.
There's so many shisty things in Jordan's life. Bringing up the shoe deal is one of them, and like that man is an enigma.
He is. He's a weird dude. I've ridden I've written essays about Jordan, so I'm a psych major. So I've written papers on him.
Well, it makes sense. But like looking at his life, like coming from where he came from in North Carolina, his dad betting on him and, literally leveraging and mortgaging the house to get him the training. And everybody's heard the stories like the Jordans bet on themselves because they knew Michael was going to be a big deal.
Yeah.
Right? Like everybody's heard that story. And then it's like the comeuppance and how he got everything. And then you realize when he got to the top, how some of the less than savory things this man has done. And you're like, you, sir, are an enigma because you will turn around and give money to charity and donate stuff. And then you're like, oh yeah, I've got $1 billion gambling debt. Like, wow.
Yeah, I was taking a class on personality, one of my favorite classes, and one of our seminal assignments was like pick somebody and do research their personality and tell me from like whatever psychological perspective how their personality is. I did Jordan because there's a Jordan picture hanging in the background. It's Jordan from the free throw. Like, I love Michael Jordan. So I was like, this is easy. Plus, there's a lot of books on Jordan. It's really easy to find. The one thing you know about Jordan has, and he said it and people took it the wrong way, but Jordan is hyper competitive to a fault. That's why he has a gambling debt, because he doesn't like to lose. He is like, losing to Jordan is like having AIDS. Like, he does not want to have it at all. Like, it is. Like, no matter the time, no matter the place, no matter what position he's in, Jordan does not like to lose at all. Everything is a battle to him. And if he cannot beat you, you will not rest. You will not sleep until he has beaten you. And when he has beaten you, he's probably going to do it 5 more times before he's done with you to establish his dominance over you. Like, that's just the kind of man Jordan is. That's why when you look on TikTok, you see all these stories about Jordan, and you see the tone people talk about him in. It's all real. There is a fear of this man, an absolute fear. It's the reason, I have to send you the TikTok or the video, Kevin Garnett has gone on record saying, I talk trash to everybody except Michael Jordan. You have a confused look on your face right now. What is going on? Did I miss something in NXT again?
Ethan Page just showed up.
No way. No fucking way.
And he just took out Trick Williams.
No.
The main event, like, he showed up at the end. Trick Williams is cutting a promo, and Ethan Page shows up and just takes out the NXT champion.
No fucking way. All ego Ethan Page?
Just walked in on NXT and took out the champion, and he's holding the belt over his head right now. I'm so glad I was watching NXT during this episode, Ricky. Like, I almost didn't turn it on, but I was like, I'll put it on in the background, like, just to have something on. And man, I'm glad, for your show's sake, I'm glad I was watching NXT, because those are 2 huge moments.
Oh, I just Jesus Christ. I just broke this news to my friend, and she literally responded in all caps, "You shut your damn mouth."
That's wild, man. Like,
what is going on? Jesus Christ. NXT just became must-see. At least for a week. Did they...
Ethan Page and Jordan Grace building a story until next week. Like, wow. Plus Ethan Page just showing...
I didn't know. Was he under contract? Oh, did I lose you? Oh, you're coming back, I think.
Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Did I lose you? Did I drop?
Oh, you dropped for a little bit, but you're back now.
Oh, okay. I was just saying Jordan Grace challenging Roxanne, and then Ethan Page showing up out of nowhere. Like, that's pretty cool.
Did Battleground just secretly become Worlds Collide? I think that's what they're doing.
I don't know, man, but his contract was up, so him coming over makes sense, but I didn't see it happening. I didn't see him coming in and just immediately interjecting himself straight into the main event title picture, like right off the rip. Holy shit, dude. Wow.
Yeah, I'm literally texting my friend in all caps. She was like, "You shut your damn mouth." I go look. Go look right now.
Yeah. That's unheard of.
Holy shit. Oh my god. And they're gonna have NXT's the only like NXT is moving to the CW in the
Yeah.
fall. The most like the most televised network in America is the CW. Holy crap, what a night for NXT. That's 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 a shockwave move.
It is.
That's an industry bending move right now.
Yeah, both of those guys showing up tonight changes a lot of the status quo of NXT.
Yeah.
Um, that being said, Ricky, I think I have to tap out of the post show
That I
though.
have to I'm
Um,
tapping out too because I need to check social. I need to see what the fuck is going
yeah,
on
I've
right
got some stuff I need to do, so I'm like, I know I've got to start the article now, but I'm also like, I've got people blowing me up. Like, what are you doing? We're about to start talking about this.
Yeah. No, we're gonna go right now. So thank you guys for seeing us on the show, but we are out of here. Oh.